Peter Obi has some relevant experience, but how deep is that experience? Governor Okowa asks. The PDP vice presidential candidate and present governor of Delta State, Ifeanyi Okowa, has raised a question about the Labour Party presidential candidate. In an interview with the Daily Trust, Okowa attested to the fact that Peter Obi is an ethical experience in the administrative sector. He has that ethical experience. However, he was being skeptical of the depth of Obi's experience in solving the problems of Nigeria. He referred back to the 8 years tenure of Obi as Anambra State governor and why there is a need to make a study of how he governed the state within those 8 years. Governor Okowa believes the presidential seat is entirely different from the governorship office. He said, when you're talking about people like Peter Obi, yes, he has some relevant experience, but how deep is that experience? I don't want to criticize him. Well, criticize him with your chest. I don't understand. He was governor for 8 years. Let's try to understand everything about him within those 8 years. I try not to talk about people, so I believe it at that. You're just afraid. Sorry. You're afraid. Listen, you're careful. I think he's in a very tight position, let's be honest, because you're in a party that's going to put the North in leadership. VP candidate or not, no one cares. Listen, the presidency has come from the South before, and then, you're not directly Southeast. So if they're trying to market it as, rotationals from the Southeast, it's been there before, so it's not necessarily anything new when it comes to fairness and equality, because the person that was from your region, Atiku tried his best to kick him out. And genuinely, I was looking forward to what he was going to say, because if you have someone like Tinubu or Atiku talking about Peter Obi, they're not giving anything constructive. So my hopes are actually up to see if he was going to go in depth. You're just scared. Why are you afraid to call them out? Isn't it competition? Isn't it politics? You cannot say, well, I don't like to talk about people. Talk about your competition. What? If anybody you have a right to talk about is your competition, because, hey, you're trying to be better. So the thing is, if you're going to talk about somebody else and not prefer your own solutions, you're just weak. Sorry, because you're not allowing us, you're helping us study the man even more. You're transferring the attention towards him. And maybe that is your plan. We never know. But you are his opposition, so your job is not also trying to make him look bad. If you're going to be strategic with it, you make him look bad to make you look good. And I think you're not using the platform, and I think for most of Nigerian politicians, really, it's not about making the other party look bad, and they're just never really competitive with this. So I think it's very disappointing, because you're not being specific, because really, it was the basis of his governorship as 8 years in Anambra State that really pursued people and was the convincing factor. Not all the things he's saying now, no way. He was even impeached. Let's not even talk about that. But really, going back to all his interviews and when he finished as governor and all the speeches he did and how he was able to be accountable and the achievements of the state, well, really, what we actually want from somebody is not that they can come up with ideas. Nigerians have ideas. If the right person is there, they will get in people with ideas to help the country. So he doesn't have to originate and come up with everything. That's what makes him a good leader. And of course, his business, his businesses he's run in the past do show that. But the point is, how can you be in a system, which is why a lot of people have failed, that we had hopes in. How can you be in a system and not be corrupted? Because let's be honest, Nigeria is not going to change like this. If it's going to do that, well, great. But we're talking about a corrupt space where people with the right intentions come out as different beings and tell us, well, what I saw there. And that is what Peter Obi's argument always is. He doesn't want to go there and say, well, I went there, and by the way, this is what I saw. Or then goes there, gets lost in the sauce, and becomes like the rest, So I think the point you're really trying to make is not about if he is capable of doing the traditional roles, but really, when it comes to corruption, that is a very big problem. We're just too open about it. We're very loose about it. And it is clearly so detrimental to several sectors of the economy, of the state, and it is very bad, and no one is taking accountability. That is really the main problem. Let's talk about it. Not even to talk about social issues and all that, but really, how can you be a force in a corrupt space and being corruptible, and also maybe to save funds. We're talking about corruption, right? And of course, don't be surprised if these individuals try to want to change the constitution now, because the way it has been, if the right person goes there with the amount of power that they do have, they can actually make a lot of change. But with the power that governors have, the president has, even instead of assembly, the House of Representatives, House of Assembly, and the atrocities that they've committed in the past. It's just, I don't know how you can say it, but really, when you say depth, how deep his experience do you want? Because if you're gonna use that argument, then you counter it by making yourself look good and say, well, my experience is deeper in these ways. But you're not doing that. In fact, it's giving very much, I don't want to be disrespectful, but it's not giving someone who's strong and confident in their role of what they want to do. Because really, it's either you come up with your chest or you don't. You can't just say, well, I try not to talk about people, so I will leave it at that. It's showing a lot of weakness, and the fact that, you can do the talking, but when it's time to get in the fire, you don't want to. Because really, whatever you're going to say will be countered anyway, any day, anytime. So, that's it. Well, Obi doesn't have the experience of looting. Have I answered your question, Mr. Okowa? Okowa, I thought you were gentle. Leave Peter Obi. He's not the person that made you VP. What experience are you talking about? I think Okowa is smart. I think he knows that he has to be careful. I just wish he hadn't spoken at all. Because really, you're not in a tight position. Anything you do, you'd probably be seen as a betrayer coon. I don't know, because you are helping a former party. I don't know. Except you're going to talk about those that didn't defect. But defection at this point, what can I say about it in this country? But the point is, he's in a tight position where he really cannot. Because then except he wants to get into the leagues of Drake Bukwe and Loretta on your chair. If he doesn't want to do that, then, he needs to get his act together. Because really, when you speak negatively, but then you're not preferring solutions, it just looks like you're attacking Peter Obi, and that is what it looks like. Because he's not making himself look any better. So, if you don't want us to say it in that way, you promote yourself and not just say, because you're helping us. In fact, you might as well be part of the obedience or be part of the Nigerians that are actually looking for a solution and be like, well, let me help you analyze this man. Don't worry. Put what you think about this in the comment section below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.